How many years has it been since we first heard state leaders in Montpelier say high-speed internet service was coming to every address, to the house at the end of every last road? Of course, the pandemic revealed the continuing gap between urban and rural areas. This fall, though, real progress to report. 14 towns in southwestern Vermont, who comprise the Southern Vermont Communication Union District, are the first in the state to finally be able to say, we've done it.
The excitement for me about having broadband extended to all of our rural areas, and there's a lot of rural areas in Vermont, is that it's a political statement of confidence and solidarity and connection. That's fundamentally what this is about.
U.S. Senator Peter Welch on hand as the Southern Vermont CUD celebrated the launch of that region's gigabit future. What that means for the area, for businesses, homeowners, tourism, is our focus this morning. This is Dorset, a bucolic community on the northern edge of Bennington County. For years, the town's 2,000 or so residents had wondered when superfast connectivity would come. Up a long dirt road at the Redpath home, today is the day.
I run a farm business that sells maple syrup and beef, and we have a website and we take orders online. And also, we don't have any phone service here, cell phone service. So we rely on the internet for our phone communications as well.
Katya's husband relies on their home internet for his business, their kids too. The existing cable service, okay, she said, but this week they switched to the new fiber optic network now available in town. Jay Mayo is a technician with Fidium Fiber, the new brand from Consolidated Communications.
It needs to connect to the outside of the house, usually comes into the basement, and then up to a floor in a corner of the house, wherever we can put the modem.
How long has there been fiber on the poles on the street?
This is a brand new build. Brand new build. It's only been out here 6 months or so.
I'm getting fiber optic, I hope. And I was told that it's going to be $50 a month, which is kind of amazing to me.
Dorset is one of 14 towns in the Southern Vermont Communication Union District. The state legislature established a dozen of these CUDs across Vermont. Their job to make broadband at least 100 megs download and upload speed available within their region. The Southern Vermont CUD is the first to get it done.
I would think a demand. I don't know. Maybe we haven't been loud enough.
But today's a big day.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really happy. I'm hopeful that that's going to just be good for everybody.
To find out more, we traveled to Bennington and met with the volunteer chair of the Southern Vermont CUD. You've reached a milestone, the first in Vermont. How did you do it?
Well, we're very fortunate and we're very proud of being the first CUD to have universal coverage and access. And we really did it through a strategic partnership with Consolidated Communications. And we initially set out to do a traditional CUD, meaning we would start our own internet service provider, contract out the building. But we realized we couldn't do that. We weren't going to be able to sustain that and have an ongoing business model. So we went out to existing providers, and Consolidated was the clear winner, and we are very thankful and grateful that we made that decision because that has led us here today.
Your CUD, or the Communication Union District, is the conduit for lots of government money.
Yes.
How much has this cost?
The CUD has been the conduit for $9 million that we got through the state via the Vermont Community Broadband Board, the VCBB, who we work with closely to make sure that we build a sustainable, ongoing infrastructure. And we pay that to Consolidated as they continue finish up all their builds. But the total investment that is being spent in our district and just a little beyond is about $28 million. and that difference is brought in by Consolidated's private investment.
Across your 14-town
Yes.
District.
Correct.
Now, what do you think this represents for the people who live here? We've been talking about this forever.
Yeah, it's really been likened to electrifying the nation, because it brings about a whole new stage of economic development, digital equity, all the benefits that come along with it. And so I think it's a very positive milestone that will really have long-lasting benefits to the community.
Within, though, that 14-town district, you have, very different communities.
Yes.
Some that are much more densely populated than others. So you have, in some towns, it's a long way from one house to the next.
Yeah.
So how do the economics work?
Well, if there were no CUD and if there were no federal monies coming through the states to organizations like mine, those folks would not be wired up at all, and we would continue to have this rural problem of internet connectivity. So what we did with Consolidated is they hit the portions that were economical to them, and what we were able to do is fill the gap so that those folks who are at the end of the long road, who are at the end of a dirt road, the only person on the road, we would fund that. So we made it economical for Consolidated to go out there, bring that house into the network, and get the same exact service for the same exact cost as someone in a highly dense town center.
And this is a one-shot investment,
Yes.
right? Once
Yes.
you build this, you're good.
We're good. The fiber is future-proof, so we can get increased speeds with the additional investment on the endpoints. So Consolidated, as part of our contract, will be reinvesting in the infrastructure. So today we get up to 2 gigabytes of speed up and down at the max, but it can go much higher than that. And so, at the end of our contract term, which is 20 years, I am sure we'll be getting speeds greater than 2 gigabytes.
For those who don't follow this stuff, 2 gigabytes is unbelievably fast.
Extremely fast, yes. That's business-ready kind of speeds.
So for the residential customer, even somebody who does work from home, that is more than
Yeah.
much more than you need.
That would be much more than you need. And there are other plans, because you don't need to get 2 gigabytes, certainly. The Consolidated offers from 50 megabytes at the lowest tier, up to 250, 501 gig, 2 gigs. So you can really tailor it to what your needs are. If it's a single person at home, 50 megs might do it. But if you have a family, students doing a lot of online work, you may want the higher 250 megabytes.
Are those rates going to be stable over time? Are those teaser rates?
There's a 1-year introductory rate, but in fact, since we finished phase 1 last year, we're finishing up phase 2 this year, the rate actually has gone down, which has been pretty nice. But overall, Consolidated sets the price, but they're statewide prices. So the people in Burlington are going to pay the same as the person at the end of a hollow down in Sandgate. So we're very happy that regardless of whether you are being funded through the CUD or you are going to get coverage regardless, you'll be paying the same monthly rate.
Take out your crystal ball for us. Where do you think this part of Vermont is going to be 5 or 10 years from now with the advent of this new modern connectivity that is truly universal?
I really feel the energy in this section of Vermont, in part of where we are in southwestern Vermont, very close to Albany, easy access to New York. But even before the wiring up, Bennington, a lot of new energy and development was coming in. And now that everyone has high-speed internet, there's a lot of discussion and focus on leveraging that. So how to attract businesses, how to upscale the businesses that are here to take advantage of that. It's kind of the first mover advantage, and with our partners at the Bennington County Regional Commission, the Southwestern Vermont Chamber of Commerce, there's a lot of talk of how to do that. They have a lot of plans, and getting universal access has been one of their main goals, and we've now helped in accomplishing that. So it's the next step, and I think that will really pay dividends in how the economy grows for everyone over the next 5-10 years.
Business, industrial, as well as creating residential demand.
Residential demand, absolutely. Services with working from home options, that really will, I think, get turbocharged down in this corner.
What would you tell to your fellow board chairs at other communication union districts around the state who may look down on you with some envy?
Well, there are other CUDs looking at the same model, and we've been speaking with them, and they saw the benefits for them to go with this model, and so there are others pursuing it, and we've helped and encouraged that as much as possible. But some CUDs, they don't have the option that we did. We were very fortunate. But what we were able to do is, because we partnered with Consolidated, we didn't need the 28 million, we only needed 9. So that actually freed up money that can go to the other CUDs. So we want every CUD to be successful and help them in any way we can. And not drawing from that pool of resources is one way that we've helped.
Eric Hatch, Chair of the board here in Southern Vermont CUD. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, Consolidated Communications will tell us about their progress building out elsewhere in the state. Fidium Fiber in Bennington County will now compete with Xfinity Cable and a host of other internet providers to woo customers all over Vermont. Different CUDs are trying different approaches to achieve universal broadband, defined as a minimum of 100 meg connectivity in both directions. Cable is faster, but fiber already offers, as you heard, 2 gigabyte speed and is theoretically unlimited, which is why they call it future-proof. Here's what Fidium told us about their work. Walk me through some of the technical challenges of extending fiber optic cable down dirt roads to every address.
So we're in a fortunate position, right? We're a 128-year-old operator. We do this every day. It's our network, our plant that's out there already. So we were fortunate, we're working with Southern Vermont CUD, that we can overlash fiber on our strand that's already on the poles. So that's the upside. It's much more cost effective because we already have that infrastructure in the air, and the speed to market is incredible because 13 months ago we were given the grant, Southern Vermont was given the grant, and we were able to, in 7 months, from May to September of this year, 6 months, we'll be able to build almost 400 miles of fiber.
Any problem, with the supply chain?
For us, no.
Yeah.
Again, we have long established relationships with vendors, so that was not an issue for us. We had, at times here in Southern Vermont alone, we had 6, 7, 8 contractors, crews working to get that 400 miles of fiber.
So you have the labor.
So we had to use some contractors at times to get that fiber in the air, for sure.
What internet connectivity was here before? Fiber, how much faster is this new system?
So our service was DSL, which a lot of people know, which is on copper, and so
Those phone lines.
Those phone lines, right? The phone lines have been around for decades and decades, and so for us, the fiber is a future-proof technology. It's not really weather-resistant. Water doesn't affect it. Lightning doesn't, like it does with copper. So we're very.
I mean, it's
fortunate.
100 times faster, or
No, it's
something.
People
Or
will
more.
notice it. People will notice it overnight when they go from DSL to fiber. It'll be a new experience for them. It really will be.
Why didn't we have this years ago?
Well, there's two things. The biggest one was money, right? It's a very capital-intensive proposition for any company, whether you're in the ILEC market, the phone business, or cable companies. That's why nobody could really get down to that last mile with current situations. So time and money. It's very difficult to build fiber networks around the state in a timely fashion. But fortunately, because we have the infrastructure in place already, we were able to do that on behalf of the Southern Vermont CUD.
I mean, Consolidated was on the receiving end of, criticism over it was just DSL. And then all of a sudden, you are rolling out Fidium fiber.
Yeah.
It's been government funding that's made all of the difference?
All the difference, and that's what we have said for years, is that if we could get a little assistance from somebody, we could do this throughout the state. And by the end of 2023, we'll be passing by 116,000 homes in Vermont. So not only are we building here in the southern part, the southwestern part of the state, but we've built in Brattleboro, Rutland County, Rutland City, Barre Montpelier area. We're up in parts of Chittenden County now. So we're continuing to build out, not just here, but in other parts of the state as well.
The price is regulated or not?
It's deregulated. So we can set those rates. It's based on, for us, it's based on competition. So if we want to be competitive in the state, we need to keep our pricing low and competitive. And so we have a statewide pricing. We're not going to charge one price in Chittenden County, for example, where half the state's population is, and then charge a different fee for folks in the rest of the state. It's a statewide initiative for us from a pricing perspective. It makes it more equitable for everybody in the state, whether you're in the most rural part of the state or the most urban part of the state.
For those that are now getting fiber service to their homes, what kind of uptake are you seeing? What percentage of customers who can subscribe are?
I don't think I have specific numbers, but I can tell you our crews are extremely busy. We have been out straight installing fiber throughout the state. So not just in Southern Vermont District, CUD here, but in the entire state. We've been out straight. So I think that's from threefold, probably marketing, the pricing that we offer, and pent-up demand. Here in the Southern Vermont CUD, there's 2,400 identified folks, homes that were considered unserved. So you've got some pent-up demand, some pricing, and some marketing. I think it's a winner.
Yeah. Was there something special about this region of the state that made it first?
No, I just think the Southern Vermont CUD board, again, all volunteers, had the foresight to, I think, work with us because we did have the best business model available from a cost perspective standpoint, as well as speed to market. Again, this CUD will be done years ahead of any other CUD in the state. Years. Years. From my perspective, I think that's a fair statement. And I think the Lamoille, we have a couple other CUDs, and we'll start, if we get the funding, they get the funding, I think we will have an opportunity to be completed by 2025 in those two CUDs. So it's exciting.
It's exciting, but folks down here really have an advantage.
Oh, they do, and I think it's going to help them on a lot of fronts. Whether it's economic development, whether it's real estate, whether it's homeschooling, work at home situations. It's a big advantage for folks when you have that type of speed available at your residential location or even a business here in town.
What difference does it make, do you think, going forward in terms of our ability to work from home, to create new businesses in areas that were just not an option before?
Well, Well, I think from an economic development standpoint, it gives current businesses an opportunity to grow, right? And I think it gives other businesses, from a business standpoint, it gives them the opportunity to come into Bennington County and start a business. So again, I think it's the economic development portion of it that is critical, and they're probably a few years ahead of most other communities at this point, or other CUD areas. So.
If you've fallen out of love with your internet provider, join the club. It's rough out there.
Fidium is Consolidated's brand for the high-speed fiber optic system, right? And some of your marketing seeks feedback from Vermonters who may not be on the list yet. And the implication is that, well, if we hear from enough of you, maybe we'll change our rollout plan. Is that really true? And what do you recommend people do?
So we have a business development team, and they will analyze, our next move. So if there's a community that isn't currently or a part of a CUD, we'll entertain any offers to bring fiber to those locations. So, but they're going to analyze it and see financially if it's a model that will work for us, to be honest with you.
How long do you think it's going to take before, whether thanks to Consolidated or anyone else, before we really get to, the promised land?
Well, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I think the vast majority of the state should be probably connected to fiber at some point. So I'd say 3 to 5 years, I think, is conservative.
Okay, and that would be, gig speed connectivity.
Speed, correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's a milestone.
It is. And again, congratulations to the Southern Vermont CUD. I mean, they've done a wonderful job. It's been a great partnership. We've collaborated the entire way from start to finish, and they've been a great partner. I can't say enough about them, what Eric Hatch and his board what they've done here in the southwest corner of the state. So,
Mr. Brooks, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. As of now, 58,000 Vermont addresses still lack anything better than a DSL connection, 5, 6, 7 megs. Christine Hallquist, the director of Vermont's Community Broadband Board, told us on Friday that fiber is the gold standard, and she said the Lamoille and Otter Creek CUDs are likely to come next. Others, like NEK Broadband, face a far more difficult rollout challenge. Vermont is the only state in the country, she said, with the goal of fiber to every single address. And we're on track to deliver that within 5 years.